All right. Hello and good evening, everyone. My name is Galila Rayboy, and I'm the Vice President of TEDx Tulane, and I'm thrilled to present to you today Tulane Talks, a TEDx-inspired event. We are so excited to introduce this year's speaker series, Creating a Narrative, Rhythms of Change. Tonight, you'll hear from three fabulous members of our student body, Adriana, Aliza, and Oliver, as they share their perspectives on what change means to them. Before we let our speakers take it away, I want to give a few thank yous. Elena, Sam, Finn, Sarah, Wes, and the entire TEDx team, thank you guys so much for making this happen. And to our amazing speakers, your dedication and efforts are the reason that we're here today. Okay, that's enough out of me. I'm going to pass it over to Aliza, who's going to talk to us about hookup culture and answer the age-old question of whether or not Gen Z has killed intimacy.
Hi guys, thank you for coming. Ask anyone under the age of 25, sex, love, and intimacy are in dire straits. If you're unfamiliar with the term hookup culture, let me catch you up to speed. The sexual liberation movement that began in the 1960s has decayed into a culturally hedonistic emphasis on casual sex, one-night stands, and non-monogamous situational relationships, or the so-called situationship, where one gets to enjoy all the benefits of monogamy without any of the commitment. This is by no means a new phenomenon, but up until very recently, it's been confined to co-ed, freshman year dorms, and the incestuous collegiate underbelly that is Greek life. But as the more general moral standard of society has begun to degenerate and apps like Tinder and Hinge have come to dominate the dating scene, participating in hookup culture has become almost unavoidable. If you're looking for love in 2024, you have little choice but to capitulate to late-night, secretive Netflix and chill rendezvous and accept the constant looming possibility of being ghosted by your intimate partner. The discourse has produced well-researched arguments for or against this phenomenon, but there's been a lack of emphasis on the deliberate objectivization and self-exploitation of the women who participate in the system. Moreover, there's been a failure to address how this emphasis on ultra-casual sex damages the broader social relationships between men and women. I'm here today to make a case against hookup culture, not as a religious Puritan or a deranged traditionalist, but as somebody who believes that men and women can treat each other better. Hookup culture is one of the few remaining patriarchal institutions where women ultimately compromise their desires for the benefit of men, even if this sacrifice is a subconscious act. Women who participate in hookup culture are sold a system that allegedly increases our agency, but in practice, the very act of hooking up suffocates the potential for the fulfillment of biological feminine desires. I asked 10 of my closest female friends if they resented the current dating landscape, posing the question, if you could go back to a time before hookup culture, would you? 9 of them said yes, with one of my friends telling me that establishing a genuine, intimate connection with someone these days is borderline impossible. By no means is my critique an indictment of young men. In an attempt to boost the social capital of women, postmodernist feminism, or third-wave feminism, has fallen into a trap where men become scapegoats rather than the problematic social system the movement seeks to reform. What makes hookup culture such a vexing phenomenon is the indiscriminate nature of the harm that it inflicts, just like any other patriarchal institution. This cultural embrace of ultra-casual sex has inadvertently led to the commodification of intimacy. Individuals who participate, especially young women, are reduced to mere objects of desire rather than complex individual human beings deserving of respect. Women are forced to disassociate themselves from their legitimate desires and renegotiate their entire sexual identity to fit the terms of men. This phenomenon has also inadvertently led to this cycle of shallow social relationships that lack any emotional depth or mutual understanding. By perpetuating a society that accepts these norms, we inadvertently lead to the harmful norms that hookup culture perpetuates and make it really, really hard to create a society where the gender gap is closed through the establishment of mutual respect. I'm not saying that we need to go back to Victorian courtship. I'm thankful that I've had the opportunity to explore different partners and determine what I want in my love life, but I do believe that hookup culture gives men the easy way out of commitment and serves to reinforce male supremacy in social relationships. If any of you have been fortunate enough to take a class with Dr. Lisa Wade here at Tulane, you might be familiar with this argument. Dr. Wade argues that, quote, hooking up itself isn't harmful, but students' sexual experiences are playing out in a context of social prejudices like racism and sexism, the hyper-competitive individualism of late-stage capitalism, which breeds a toxic erotic marketplace, the commodification of sexuality, where bodies are commodities and sex is something you can have, give, or take, and ignorance and naivete through an alarming lack of sex and relationship education. Dr. Wade's conclusions on the consequences of hookup culture have transformed my perceptions of sex and intimacy. This intense degree of sexual liberation, ushered in by Dworkin and Dobbs, coupled with the big techification of modern dating, has drained any gravity from sexual encounters, draining any possibility for emotional connection or romance. Women have become consumables rather than individuals. I'm not saying that you need to enter a committed relationship with someone in order to have sex with them. It's not 1950, and I'm probably the furthest thing from a Christian morality absolutist, but I do believe there's a middle ground between harmful purity culture and the status quo. There's an intersection between hedonism and abject restraint. American culture was sexually repressive for a long time, but we overcorrected. I believe that we can strike a balance where women still have free choice of sexual partners while being granted the same amount of respect that men show to one another as a term of consent. If we as individuals truly want to empower ourselves in a society obsessed with consumption and market value, we must place more value on our capital. It's time to bring some meaning back to sex. As soon as we change the way we participate in a system that is no longer serving us, those who perpetuate the harmful norms of hookup culture will be incentivized to help all of us create a sexual culture that embraces egalitarianism and intimacy. I urge you all not to fall into the belief that social systems that don't improve society can only be changed by politicians, reformers, and activists. They're changed by the people that participate in the system, people like us. So I'll leave you with this. The next time someone hits you up with one of those 1 a.m. WYD or you up texts, leave them on red. Thank you.